Alright, thank you very much. My name is Jonah, and my project is called Higher Quality, Better Taste. Alright, my introduction. The quality of organic versus conventionally farmed produce has been long debated. Have you ever wondered, which is better, organic or non-organic, and which contains more nutrients? Well, this experiment will compare the quality of organic strawberries versus conventionally farmed strawberries using a refractometer to measure the density of nutrients within the juice of the strawberry. And these results will further be correlated into a blind taste test of these strawberries. Alright. Now here's some of my research for organic versus conventional foods. And basically a recent overview in 2012 of 223 studies by Dr. Smith Spangler of Stanford University has shown that organically grown foods versus conventionally grown foods do not consistently contain significant higher amounts of nutrients, except for higher levels of phosphorus. There is no consistent method for testing the quality of nutrients. And did you know that organic produce contains less than 7% pesticides versus over 33% pesticides contamination of non-organic produce? And if you would like to see some more research about this subject, just quickly go to my site. There's some more stuff there. And just quickly, these photos right here are of different farms in Mexico that they grow organic and conventionally grown foods in. Alright, next slide. Here's some research for the refractometer. And the refractometer tests how many bricks, which is a degree measurement, is in the juice of a fruit or vegetable. And how it does this, determines it, is by, what happens is that, first you drop some of the juice from the fruit or vegetable onto the refractometer surface, and then you hold it up to a bright light, and depending on how much the light refracts through the fluid, it comes up with a number, and depending on how much it refracts in the liquid, it shows how dense it is. And basically that shows how many nutrients or sugars and vitamins are in the actual juice of the different fruits and vegetables. Alright. My hypothesis. Organically grown produce, strawberries, will contain more nutrients, and so will score higher on the refractometer in a comparison to conventionally farmed produce. These findings will also correlate positively to the selection of organic strawberries versus conventionally farmed strawberries upon the blinded taste test, which is the second part of my project. There should be no difference in the results if tested in Canada versus at the source of picking, Mexico, which is also another part of my project. I decided that I would test not only in Calgary, but here in Mexico, to see if there's a difference in the nutrients and whether or not, because the different fruits in Mexico, they have so much more sunlight, they may have more nutrients inside the juice than the ones that are shipped from Mexico to Calgary. Yeah, sorry. Here's some of my materials that I had to use for my test. There are the organic strawberries, store-bought in Canada, shipped from Mexico, organic farm fresh, same day picked in Mexico, and the conventionally farmed strawberries, which basically are under the same circumstances as the organic strawberries. And of course I needed a refractometer to test the density, and I needed some distilled water to calibrate the refractometer before testing to make sure that it wasn't, the alignment wasn't all mixed up. And I needed a clean knife and a chopping board to cut up the strawberries, a dropper to remove the juice from the strawberries to create a juice, and then drop it onto the refractometer, and of course some consent forms for my test subjects, and 20 test subjects for Mexico, and 20 test subjects in Calgary. Alright, here are my variables. My controlled variables, I have 1, the ripeness of the strawberries, which are firmness, color, and smell. And how I determined this is if the firmness was pretty strong, but not, if you applied enough pressure it would collapse in itself, then that would be, pretty ripe. And the color had to be a bright red, and there couldn't be green areas in it or anything. And the smell had to smell pretty sweet, a little bit sour, but mainly sweet. My manipulated variables are the organic strawberries and the conventionally farmed strawberries, the location of the purchase at the source, Mexico, versus shipped in Calgary, and 3, the time of the picking, which is 2 days versus 2 weeks of which is the 2 days is in Mexico, and the 2 weeks is from Mexico to Calgary, and then the experiment. And finally, my responding variables are 1, the degree brick measurement with the refractometer, and 2, the choice of better tasting strawberries in the blind taste test. Okay, here's my procedure. We first purchased the organic strawberries, all product of Mexico. And just a quick note, this procedure is both for Mexico and Calgary. It's basically the exact same. And so we would also purchase the conventionally farmed strawberries, as well as the product in Mexico. We select strawberries of equal ripeness, as I said before, firmness, color, and smell, for testing. We squeeze out the juice of 1 strawberry and measure the liquid's density with the refractometer. And then we repeated that process for a total of 3 strawberries for the organic strawberries, and 3 strawberries for the conventional strawberries at each location. And then I would record the results in my logbook, so then I can, when I was all done my testing, I could create it into a graph. And then finally, we select 40 volunteers, 20 in Mexico, 20 in Calgary, for the blinded taste test, using the organic and the conventional strawberries of equal ripeness, with, of course, the consent forms had to be signed, so then, the Calgary Youth Science Fair would accept it. And of note, of course, this experiment was performed first in Todos Santos, BCS, Mexico, at the source of the grown strawberries, like about, I don't know, a kilometer away from where we were staying. And as these strawberries were picked within 2 days of testing, so they were really fresh. This experiment was then repeated in Calgary, Alberta, with organic and conventional strawberries picked and shipped within 2 weeks, verified by store owner. Alright, here are my observations. I noticed that it was more difficult to remove the juice from the organic strawberries than the conventional. And I'm not sure why this is, but if I continue this project further, I'll definitely research that. But I do have a theory, but I will not say that right now. Okay, in Calgary, 90% of the individuals chose the organic strawberries in the blinded taste test. 5% chose conventional, and 5% detected no difference. In Mexico, 70% of the individuals chose organic strawberries, while 30% chose the conventional. When compared to the ratings provided by the Soil Solutions Incorporated, which is the producer of the refractometer, and they have a website, the conventionally farmed strawberries average brick level at 7.8 in Mexico and 8.3 in Calgary was between poor and average. The standards at 6 equals poor, 10 equals average, 14 equals good, and 16 plus equals excellent. The organic strawberries' average brick level in Mexico was at 8.43, and at 11.3 in Calgary were related between poor and good. Now here are the results of the refractometer in Mexico, which are all the different tests, and they're in bricks measurements. So as you can see in the first test, there's actually a steady increase for the organic, while the conventional is kind of all over the place. But organic does definitely have more nutrient level, well, brick level, than the conventional strawberries. Now these are the results for the taste test in Mexico. And as you can see, 70% of the people in the taste test chose organic, while 30% chose the conventional. Okay, these are my results of the refractometer in Calgary. Now, the graph here is actually much larger than what it was in when it was in the Mexico graph, because I don't know what did that. But anyways, as you can see, the organic strawberries for the first two tests were way higher than the conventional, while in the third test they were actually pretty close. And this is also the results for the taste test in Calgary, and 90% of the people in the taste test chose organic over conventional. 5% chose no difference, and 5% chose conventional. And finally, this is a comparison of average brick level measurements of organic versus the conventional strawberries at Mexico source versus Calgary shipped. So as you can see, in Mexico, there wasn't a huge difference in the average brick level, which was very strange. And in Calgary, the organic had a much higher brick level than the conventional. These are just a few photos that I took of the procedure in Calgary. Just mashing up the strawberries to get the juice, and cutting up the strawberries for the taste test, putting them in sterile containers for storage, and using the refractometer to test the density. Okay, conclusion. In general, both locations of Mexico, source and Calgary shipped, depicted higher brick level measurements for the organically farmed strawberries versus the conventionally farmed. The higher brick level measurement correlated with the taste test results. That is, the majority of people selected organic strawberries in both locations due to a better taste. Specifically, there was a greater difference in the brick measurements for the organic shipped, Calgary, strawberries versus the conventional strawberries that were shipped, 3 points. That was less of a difference, 1 point, between the organic source, Mexico, versus the conventional source of strawberries. Preliminary results suggest that besides better taste, there may be a case for purchasing organic produce over conventionally farmed produce when it is shipped, as the organic produce appears to hold its nutrients at a higher level than the conventional. Further research with various fruits and vegetables using the refractometer is recommended. Okay, here are my applications. Based on the preliminary results, there may be a use for the refractometer in the consumer setting. Namely, the refractometer may be used by the consumer to determine the quality of the fruit or the vegetable that is either for purchase or grown in a garden or farm. The refractometer may also provide the scientists, the farmers, and the consumer with valuable measurements to determine if there exists a difference in the quality of organic versus conventionally farmed food. And finally, my error of procedure. First, there is the ripeness of my strawberries may vary within a package and between packages. This may affect the brick measurement. The variable locations may also have influenced the nutrients in the soil, and therefore may alter the nutrients and sugars within both organic and conventional strawberries. Pesticides use may have an effect on the conventionally farmed strawberries and their nutrient content. Subject has taste of last strawberry still in her mouth and or altered taste buds, which is a high possibility. The variability in conventional and organic farming standards in Mexico and Calgary, because we're not sure what the different standards are, because Canada has, well, obviously, has different standards of organic produce than in Mexico, and so depending on that, we're not sure if there would be a difference in the organic and conventionally grown produce. And yeah, that's the end of my project.